Podcast Bites.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Muscle Intelligence Podcast. I'm Ben Pakulski, and I'm super excited about today's podcast. This guy is an incredible educator, someone that I may even call a guru, although he may reject that title. I'm sitting here in the house of the legend, Mr. Paul Chek.
The more your ego tries to bolster itself personally, physically, emotionally, financially, etc., at the expense of other people, the more narrow your universe and your world gets. And the next thing you know, the only people you can trust are evil people just like you, and you know you can never trust them because you can't trust yourself.
Wow.
So what happens is God sets it up so that you have the free will to practice acts of evil, but ultimately God's got a default mechanism in the game because you go further and further into isolation until you have all the money and all the toys and all the people faking that they love you, but you feel absolutely desperately alone, right? And so there's no way home but to learn to love. And so really, what my life has taught me through lots of bumps and scrapes is that the ultimate form of worship, the ultimate form of connection, the ultimate form of safety and security is to realize yourself as one with the other. And this, for example, Jesus says in the Bible, a rich man can no sooner get to heaven than a camel can get through the eye of a needle. Why? Because when you die, none of that goes with you. The only thing that leaves with you when you die is what you've become. Mm-hmm. And because we are ultimately God experiencing itself, the question is, are you happy with what you created? And when you become free of your body and look at the world and look at your life, you consciously see when you chose to act in ways towards other people that created not love, that created pain, that created separation, that were violent, whatever. And ultimately, each of us, knowing the truth of ourselves after we die, comes to the realization that we could love better, that we could live with more love, that we could do more for the world. And so the desire to be honest about who and what we really are draws us back into another experience of life. And we continue until we reach the point where we are so ultimately satiated that we actually become unconditional love again. And that is what really the word nirvana means, to extinguish or to blow out. Once you've reached the level of depth of understanding and you've saturated yourself so fully with love that you see the illusion for what it is, then you basically can return to source, because you can't return to unconditional love until you are unconditional love, because by definition, you can't be there if you have a condition on you, okay? So the soul is unconditional love, taking a journey into the illusion of duality, in which consciousness becomes a psychic substance produced not blindly, but in living awareness of opposites. And what God is that which loves us no matter how evil we are, because God has got to allow evil, or love has no meaning. And neither does free will. The difference is evil ultimately takes you down a darker and darker blind alley until you find that you're so alone that the only way to get home is to learn to love again and to reconnect. And look at what the most painful torture there is for a prisoner: solitary confinement. Not physical violence, not starvation, putting them in a hole by themselves. Because what we are is everybody else. And when we're separated from it, it literally will kill us. When we're evil, we are afraid of God because we inherently have a soul that knows the truth of what God really is not evil. So there's a point at which we come to the realization that what we're doing gives us some kind of momentary gain, but ultimately hurts us in the heart. And the only way we can heal those wounds is to love ourselves better. And the more we love ourselves, the more we realize we couldn't be here without everyone and everything around us. And then when we grow deep enough into ourselves, we realize that the pain is a necessary tool to awaken consciousness, because if we didn't have pain, we would stay forever watching television, eating Oreo cookies, and pacifying ourselves,
right.
And we would never grow into ourselves to ask the deeper questions, to create meaningful ways of living and loving, and to create technologies that bring us together. And we inevitably have to work with a duality, because we can't have the experience of consciousness without the duality of the emptiness and the full, the yin and the yang, the do, the don't do, the love, the not love. And that really is a very quick tour of a journey that takes a long time, but you see everything we're doing, from our athletic pursuits to how much muscle we have to how much of a badass we are, all
comes back to that.
Gives us just the right amount of pain to have to dig deeper into ourselves, to grow the consciousness that ultimately gives us the wisdom to connect the soil to the farm, to the laboratory, to the supplement, to the food, to the animal, to the environment, to the teacher, to the therapist, to the sage, to the wise man, to the Buddha, to the church, ... And eventually, there's two paths to enlightenment. The positiva, which means you keep growing more and more knowledge till everything connects together and you realize, oh my God, it's all God doing this. Or the negativa, where you minimize intellectualism and you grow deeper and deeper into yourself until you get so empty that you're filled with the universe itself. You become like an empty mirror. This is why the Sufis call it polishing the heart. When you become as empty as a mirror, what do you have in you?
Only love.
Everything.
Only God.
Everything. Right? No matter which direction. Can a mirror refuse anybody?
No.
No. So what happens is when you take the path of the negativa and you go deeper and deeper into calming your mind to where you have no ego activity, you become like a mirror that receives everything, and you see there's no separation between the stars, the planets, the moons, right. The people, the dogs, the cats, the microorganisms. You see it's all God living and breathing and expressing itself, and that's the Tao that can be spoken. The emptiness that makes room for it is the Tao that cannot be spoken.
Extremely deep and complex.
Avocado, motherfucker.